Bel Di Lorenzo, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So when you first launched Gohddess, you made $30,000 in the space of like 2 days after launch. What is your secret sauce? How did you do that?
That was crazy. That was more money that I never ever seen in my life. What happened there is I launched with a partner, with a huge partner from my industry. And the reason why I was able to launch with them was because I'd been so annoying for the past 4 months, even before I had a product. I didn't have a website when I started contacting these people. Uh, I, by your advice, really, it was like, just get out there, just do some, product market fit, just start sending emails, start reaching out to people, start seeing if this is even a thing, if this could even be a thing, if anyone's interested in partnering with you. And these people already have big audiences, just reach out to them, see what they do. And I was like, there's no way, I gotta have the product ready. But I begrudgingly followed your advice, and I ended up having this partnership where um, it almost fell apart. So it was fantastic. We were talking back and forth, emailing. I sent them what I had going on with the course. It wasn't even ready yet, but they loved the trajectory. They loved where it was going. They loved the design. They loved the teachings. They loved everything that I was doing. So I was back and forth talking to this lady, and we were going to do this huge launch. They were going to send a bunch of emails. I ran all the emails out that they were going to send to their huge. This is a massive company, one of the number one companies in this industry, and they were going to send it to all, to everyone. And then the company got sold. The company got acquired, and they changed the entire team. And I was like, oh my God. So the person that I was in contact with no longer was there. There was nobody that I could talk to. And I kept emailing them, and everyone was like, oh, I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a takeover. Like, I don't have time for this. I'm swamped with work. I'm like, oh my God, no, what do I do? So I contacted the person that I knew from there, and she gave me this email of whoever had replaced her. Started messaging this person again, and I said, look, this is what we had going on. I'm not asking for the same treatment. I know you guys are filled with new work, with training new people, an entire new team. Do you think you could just send just one email out about this thing that I have, this course that I'm launching? Please, 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 please. I don't know if the lady took pity on me or she was just annoyed and she didn't want my emails anymore. So she's like, let's do it. And you don't even have to give us, she completely took off I was supposed to give them a cut. I was going to give them 50% of every sale. She's like, no, it's okay. Let's not set that up because it was too much trouble on the back end. And they were like, we don't really want to deal with this. So they were like, let's do it. Let's just send one email for this girl and she'll shut up. And so they did. But because it was such a huge company, in one weekend of that one email, we launched with $30,000. Yeah, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. I kept refreshing my Kajabi, which is the platform where we host the course, and it was like this has gotta be one of the most successful launches ever. In my completely naive mind, I'm sure it wasn't, but that's what I thought. For me, that was so much money. There was no way, and I was in cloud nine. It was really great. It was super, super good.
So just as a bit of context for anyone watching this. So Bel and I actually know each other. We've known each other for years and years and years. Bel used to be the community and marketing manager for Startup Source. She actually built the website. So if you go to the startupsource.com website, you're looking at Bel's handiwork.
You know who to blame.
And just also as a disclaimer, so we're going to talk, Bel, I'm going to ask you about your business, Gohddess, in just a second. But I am an advisor to Gohddess when Bel was talking about following my advice before. What that advice is quite often I see so many SaaS founders who build, and then they launch and like, oh, how do I get customers now? And the advice that I always give to other founders, and Bel is one of the few entrepreneurs who actually followed my advice and it worked, which makes me happy. Bel actually followed through on it. So I said, look, you need to go and line up some partners. You're not going to have time after you launch. Go and line up all these partners, talk to everyone in your space, start some conversations. And I think when we first started doing it, you're like 24, 25 at the time, like you were a kid.
And 24, 23. Yeah,
and I think it must have been so weird because they would have received this email and gone, who is this weird kid who is emailing us? There's no website. There's no nothing.
Nothing, not even a website.
Hang on, now there's a bit of a website. Okay, now, and hang on, there's like this sample of, so they could see some progress as you were going through, but you kept them in the loop and you kept on doing it.
I think at that when it's so early on, they kind of just fall in love with you. When it's so early on, they just believe in your project and they're like, they just take pity in this poor girl who's just trying to do something. Yeah.
I think also, just before one final point is for young entrepreneurs in particular, okay, you've got no money, you've got no experience, you've got no personal network, but you will be surprised how receptive people are to seeing a young person having a real crack, giving something like properly trying to pull something off and build something awesome. Sometimes people say, you know what, like I like this girl. Let's give her a go. And
Yeah, it was great. It was lovely.
Bel, why don't you tell us, for a little bit of context, what is Gohddess and who is it for?
Sure. So we teach women the art of vaginal gymnastics, or the way that I like to refer to it, Kegels on crack. And essentially, what this practice entails is women develop such control over their pelvic floor muscles that they're able to perform all of these crazy, pleasurable skills in the bedroom with their partners. So they train during the week, much like you would train at the gym, and then you use them during intimacy. And there's a lot. It's very, very science backed because I'm a bit of a nerd for this stuff, and so basically there's a lot of research showing that this enhances their pleasure, their libido, their orgasms, and their partners don't actually complain. They're not too angry about it. So it's been great. We've been running it for 3 years now. We have a course, which is our main product, full program on it, completely animated, all with images, illustrations, my voice, a community. And we recently, at the beginning of this year, we launched a book, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But we launched a book, and it's been going really, really great as well with that. So,
and just for anyone watching or listening to this that's thinking, hang on, what the hell, Ryan? Like, I thought this was a podcast about SaaS, and now you've got like a sex course on here. What's going on? First of all, mwahaha. Second of all, what we're going to mostly focus on is the business and the marketing behind it, because I think there's a lot of parallels. The interesting thing about your industry, Bel, is that a lot of traditional marketing channels are blocked off to you because it's an interesting industry, shall we say. You can't just go out and just dump a whole bunch of money into ads because they won't allow you to play out. No. So you have to get creative with the marketing methods you use. A lot of it's content driven. So we want to unpack that. We might do a bit of a deeper dive into some of your Reddit strategies, some of your content strategies a little bit later on. But let's just start off a little bit. So back when we first started this podcast, we were talking about how you just launched the business. You made 30 grand in the first 2 days. It was more money than you'd ever seen in your 25 years on the planet at the time. And then what happened after the 24? Sorry. What happened after that? Did you just continue relying on affiliates? Did that just keep on working for you?
That was the initial goal. Or that's something that you really knew. You knew a lot about. I come from an SEO background. I come from a content background. So it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And it's not, as you probably ask me later on, it's definitely not my forte, affiliates. Anything that has to do with interacting with people, I'm just bad at. So I'm much better at being behind the computer and writing blog posts like a nerd. But essentially, we tried to continue doing cold outreach, and we did. And we had a lot of conversations. But what I kept finding out was that everything took forever. One of them was like, oh, I love this. Actually, I kind of want to buy your company. What if I just buy you? And I was like, oh, no, that's not what I want right now. I just want to get this going. And then everything took so long, and I didn't like depending on other people's times, because the companies there, either they were really, really big companies in the sex space, and everything took forever, and they had a lot of parameters. Some of them can't even say that some of their devices are for pleasure, because there's a lot of rules on what they can and cannot say. And the smaller companies, they were like, look, we just produce this stuff, then someone else sells it, that someone else. So like it's just a cog in one of the different aspects of the purchasing process and selling process. So it's like, okay, this is just taking so much of my time, and it's not, I feel like I'm not doing anything. I don't feel like I'm advancing. So at the same time as we were toying with affiliates, one of our students had told me that she was really big on Reddit. She was a really big contributor in Reddit. And for those who don't know, Reddit is basically this massive forum. And the good thing about this channel is that it is, it's a good and the bad thing, I guess. But as a social media, it is extremely cautious of spamming. It is extremely, extremely guarded when it comes to the content that's out there. So everything is user promoted. Every post that you'll see is the post that's had the most likes by other users. The moderators of every single sub forum or subreddit really crack down on any sort of spam. So it's very, very, very curated. And so this girl was telling me I'm part of this community that's called Sex Over 30, right? And I contribute a lot to this community, and I read a lot, and I'm one of the top contributors. So if you answer a lot of questions from the forum, or you engage a lot, you become one of the top contributors of a given subreddit. And she said, "What if I write something in a review about your course?" And I was like, "That would be fantastic." And I think she mentioned it a couple of times, but eventually I said, "What if I just write a free guide on this stuff, a beginner's guide to this art of vaginal gymnastics?" Now, granted, I have a product that is very very unique in a way. It's not something that's been done before. There's a couple of books on that subject, but very much with the inclination of like, oh, this used to be done by, famous courtesans throughout history, not really anything teaching you how to do it step by step. So it is a very unique product. So and it has this virality component to it as well. So I said, okay, what if I write a guide, a free guide with the beginner level exercises, but they're still going to be really robust because no one knows how to do this, right? So I created this guide really step by step. And I added, by the way, just for all, I wanted to be really, really genuine, and because Reddit is very much cracking down on this stuff. So I said, full disclosure, I am the owner and founder of Gohddess. It's a full course on this stuff. If you're interested, here's a discount code that you can use to get the full program. And I said, I think it's Reddit 100, and it's still active today. And then I gave them the entire free guide, and I posted that on the subreddit Sex Over 30. It went so viral that I said, okay, we had so many questions and questions and questions that I figured, why don't I just create a subreddit specifically on this practice? Not on my business, so not on Gohddess, the business, but on Pompoir, the practice, which is another name for vaginal gymnastics. So I said, okay, I'll just create this subreddit where we can talk about this. It can be an open forum and everyone can contribute. And lo and behold, it became the biggest channel that we had. Reddit it's the biggest channel that we have in terms of revenue, because it's just extremely niche down, and people are very serious about whatever they're consuming. So much to the point that I don't really touch Reddit. Like, Reddit is a community that everyone talks to themselves, everyone answers the questions. I just engage once in a while, but people have just created their own dialect. And the interesting part about this, which I don't know what the marketing books will say on this, if it's good or not, but because maybe I want to say maybe 10% of the people on the subreddit are already part of our course, they've started using the lingo from our course to refer to generic terms of the practice. So sometimes stuff that we teach only on our course has become a generic way of explaining something. Just like, in Argentina, I'm from Argentina, and we say, instead of saying, the toothpaste, we say Colgate. We don't say toothpaste. That word does not exist. We say Colgate. And it's actually the brand. So it's kind of the same thing that's happening with us, with our stuff. So people will say, I was doing the Gohddess thing and blah, blah. And someone will answer, what is the Gohddess thing? Oh, they're the people who run the community. This is the course. And so people will just constantly promote our stuff without us really doing anything about it. And it's fantastic because it's also a phenomenal source of content for me, because I know what people are asking, what people are interested in, what's a topic that they want to know more of. And then I'm like, oh, I should just create a lesson for this and add it to the course, or I'll just create a blog post about it. The other day, I was just asking a question because I said, hey guys, full disclosure, I want to write a blog post on this. What do you guys think of this? And everyone started answering, and that gave me all the content I needed to just create a blog post. And it's just such a phenomenal channel. I know you wanted to cover it later on, but it's just, it has been maybe the original channel for us of content, and it's been fantastic.
Reddit's only going to get bigger too. I think it was recently, I think it's now, there was a graph of it, I saw this, where they made a deal with Google because of all the, AI stuff that's out there now. Google's got a hard time telling what is user generated and what is AI driven. So Google is waiting search results with Reddit from Reddit way more highly. You're seeing Reddit showing up in the search results way
Yes.
more now. I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he's got a friend who's like, their agency is running SEO for Reddit, and they're crushing it at the moment, as you can imagine.
To be fair, Reddit's SEO has gotten so much better. It used to be not so great.
Yeah. So much better now. But the really key thing about Reddit now is because it's getting so much more search traffic from Google. Whether it was good luck or good management or good foresight, you own the discussion, you own the topic area on Reddit, which is, the topic area is growing, but Reddit itself is taking up more and more, ranking higher and higher in search engines. So you're getting more traffic from that as well. I think Reddit's. So your strategy, just to unpack this a little bit more, is you launched with the partner because they had a much bigger email list than you did. You leveraged that into your initial traction. You got 30 grand in sales. So you had an email list of customers then. Product was awesome. So you had a lot of them were really happy with the course. You reached out to them, you struck up friendships with them, you got invested in getting to know them and asking them for feedback and all those things. One of them told you about Reddit. So then you moved across to Reddit and you set up was it R Pompoir
subreddit. I don't know if I can share my screen here if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that might be interesting because so let's see. So I was very specific to make it. So this is Art Pompoir by Gohddess. So I'm trying to be very, straightforward with this. I give them, if you can see the banner, I don't know if I can make this larger for you guys. But if you can see the banner already says save 25% on the course at gohddess.com with the code Reddit 100. You won't see it here because I have admin rights, so I can edit, but this is what that says. And I even created the avatar so it looks like all the other Reddit communities, but just with a female reproductive system. So this is our community. We got 20,000 members, just shy of 20,000. And it's by far one of our biggest channels because it's just phenomenal in terms of how much revenue we generate from that.
Just for context, so did you was this an existing community that you took over, or did you start it literally from zero?
I started from zero.
Where did you get the first members from?
A lot of them came from that initial guide that I posted on the other subreddit. I think in Reddit you can edit a post. So once it went a little bit viral, I just basically put an edit and I was like, hey guys, just so you know, I'm moving this conversation to our Pompoir, our new subreddit on this. And if you want to learn more, you can just do that. And I also pinned a comment on that post by me. So I just directed all those people first there. And then you start appearing on, then people from your community will mention you on other posts, and then suddenly you'll get an influx of people getting in because you were mentioned in a comment in a particularly viral post. And then you can appear as a related community in other people's communities, and you can, add them as your related community. So yeah, but essentially we don't really do much work on Reddit. Reddit works itself.
And what other channels have worked for you besides Reddit?
Hey, it's Ryan here. I'm glad you're enjoying the video. Listen, if you want to meet me or some of the people that I interview, you should really join the Startup Source SaaS Founder community. It's a private Slack group for SaaS founders based outside of Silicon Valley who are past the idea stage and want to focus on growth. About 30% of our members are doing over $1 million a year in revenue, so it's a pretty high caliber group. You'll get access to regular mastermind calls and workshops, and every week we share exclusive marketing tactics and resources that you can use to grow your business faster. So, if you want to give yourself an unfair advantage and learn from other SaaS founders who are 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, head over to startupsource.com and sign up. I think there's a link in the description down below as well. Anyway, I'll see you in there.
This is going to sound so bad, but the curse that I have is that every channel kind of works. So it's, I know it's a sad life, but the problem with that is that there hasn't been a channel that's completely outperformed the others. So that's where the challenge really comes from. Every single month, we're like, okay, let's find the trend. Let's find the trend. What's the channel that's driving the most traffic? And then we get some sales from the course, from the book, some sales from Reddit, some sales from podcasts that I did years ago, some sales from the blog, some sales from YouTube, so it's really so evenly spread that there's not really one channel that's outperforming the rest. So I can be like, I'll just focus my efforts there. But even though, that's not really the approach that I prefer. I kind of prefer that scattergun approach a little bit more. I don't I don't think of that as a bad word, as so many do in our industry, in marketing at least. But we started a YouTube channel. I started posting some videos, and the idea was, we'll do some long form stuff, some video stuff that I can do. I did it for like 6 months, and then I think we were so swamped with other stuff that I stopped it. A year after, we had, barely any subs, obviously, as you do when you first start. A year to the date, like exactly 1 year after I posted one video, it went berserk. And so now there's this video that's got 300,000 views. We got, out of 5 videos, and I haven't posted in a year, we have 10,000 subs. And so the idea is to continue. Now in 2025, we're actually launching a proper YouTube strategy. So we got a few sales from that. We still get sales from that every single month. I started TikTok on the recommendation of a friend who was huge on TikTok, and I refused. After so many times of saying no, I ended up caving, and I started TikTok. It went great, which sucks for me, because I became a TikTok person.
How great is great?
So our videos were getting millions of views. Millions of views, and then that was fantastic, especially for the book, which is the only thing that we really promote on TikTok, because the people there usually don't have as much money as they will on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube.
Younger demographic, they're not as cashed
younger
up.
demographic, a lot of students. So that's where we promote mostly the book, that then leads into the course. And so yeah, so TikTok was fantastic for that. Then the algorithm changed, and things are, really weird right now. Everyone's kind of flocking from TikTok to Instagram or YouTube Shorts, because things are not as easy as they used to be. But at the beginning, we did leverage that, and we were like, okay, if this is going great, I'm just doing a TikTok a day. I think at some point we're posting twice a day. So we're really ramping up the content with that. I blog every single week. I do a blog, and we are getting better in SEO as well. That's kind of my sweet spot. I love writing. I come from an SEO background. I love optimizing blog posts. So that's the stuff that I enjoy kind of the most. So I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway. This is something that I enjoy doing. I might as well be serious about it and do it once a week. We had other partners later on as well.
Are you doing link building for the blog posts as well, or are you more just get the content out there?
Zero. I'm not doing any link. Yeah. No, zero link building. I'm not doing any link building, because that's an entire field on its own. I managed link builders in the past, and it's an actual it's so demanding. So I'm really big on optimizing for what you're good at. I'm great at generating content. That's the one thing that I'm good at. I'm bad at everything else, but I can generate content like a superhero. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do that. I'll just create. And that's kind of like my philosophy with marketing is, I feel like as founders, especially, this is probably something that you're familiar with in SaaS, we're also product focused. We all want, because obviously it's our craft, we built a product on something that we know how to do and that we're really passionate about. So we're like, okay, I know a lot about this. I just want to keep building product. I just want to make this better and add more features and make it cooler and optimize and make it better. And then we're like, let's not even touch marketing. And obviously then we realize, oh God, we have to spend half of our time on freaking marketing, which we all hate. So the way that I kind of managed to navigate that was I productized my marketing as much as possible. So I kind of take, when I'm thinking about creating something for the course and making it better, which is basically the same as a coder trying to add more features to their SaaS software. When I try to make something better and I try to create a new lesson or anything, I'm like, you know what? I'll make it a blog post. I'll make it a blog post and I'll send it to our newsletter and get some sales and make some marketing out of it, make some marketing bucks out of it. Or I'll just create a video for YouTube and then I can bring a lot of people into this. Or I'll just make a lead magnet, or I'll just make 10 freaking TikToks on it. So I try to, every time I have this impulse of creating more product, I turn it into content, and I can feel good about the fact that I'm making marketing stuff, which is also great for us, because everything that hasn't been content driven has either been extremely slow or proven impossible because of what you said, that paid advertising is very, very hard for us. Every time we've tried it, we had to, we had to create ads that went into a lead magnet, but everything about it had to be so sanitized because you can't really use the words pleasure or vagina, or there's so many things that you can't say. So it's like there's no way I can't I have I have planning fatigue. So if I spend way too many hours planning on something before it actually before anything comes out of it, I just get bored. I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this. All this time I could have written 3 blog posts. I'm not doing this. So I just rather get something going that I know is going to work rather than keep dealing with Google ads telling me that it's not going to work, or Facebook ads telling me that I need to change it so that it's a health thing and not about what it actually is about.
I think you touched on something really important there that doesn't get talked about often enough, and that's the idea of founder channel fit. People talk about product market fit. If you go to any forum, you go to any Facebook group, any Reddit subreddit, and like people say, "Oh, you've got to find product market fit." That's well understood. You've got to make something that people want. Cool. However, I cannot tell you how many founders I've met who have a kick-ass product that people definitely need and are willing to pay for, and the business dies. And the reason it dies is because the founder and the channel are not aligned with that either. There's 4 dimensions to this, not just 2. So what that really looks like is I need to write a blog post about this because this is an idea that I've talked about before, but I have never actually written down.
See, but that's not your fit.
well, and this is the thing. So I had this business idea years ago. It was in the fashion space. And I went and told a mentor about it. I was so excited about it. He said, "Ryan, that is a fantastic idea for someone else, not for you." And I was like, what do you mean? It's a bloody brilliant idea. I'm a smart guy. I can pull this off. I think, this has really got legs. And he goes, "Absolutely. It's got legs. You're the wrong guy to do this." And I was so offended. And I said, like, why? And he goes, "Ryan, have you looked in the mirror, mate? You are not a fashionable man.
You're not a fashion dude.
This is not the industry for you." And so the thing is, especially if you're bootstrapping, you're going to be building your business for the next 5, 7, 10. I was talking to a guy the other day who's been working on the same business for 20 years. This is basically his whole life's work, his whole career.
Yeah.
So you really got to like the space that you're in. You've got to like the customers that you're going to be talking to. You need to enjoy being in that world, because if you don't, it's going to be a long, hard slog. And when times get tough, you're not going to have the motivation to continue kind of grinding on through. But the founder channel part of it is you as the founder, or one of the founders, is going to be doing the marketing for quite a long time. You can't just like, hey, we launched, now we're going to hire an SEO agency and we're going to hire a paid ad agency and we're going to get all these affiliates. And we're going to hire these commission-only salespeople and we'll just work on the product and it will magically sell itself. No. You, the founder, needs to be the one driving it. And the reason is nobody's ever going to care as much as you do. Nobody knows as much about your customers as you do. Nobody knows as much about your product as you do. Like, you need to be the one in the driver's seat of the marketing. And so you need to find a channel that is a good fit for you as a founder. I tried doing videos. Like, YouTube has been something that and I thought, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I tried writing blog posts like you do. I'm a good writer, but I am slow as anything.
Oh, I know.
So for me to crank out a blog post it's painful. It's going to take me forever. And I thought, okay, I'm good at talking. I'll just turn on a camera and talk to a camera. The thing is, I can have a natural conversation with someone like this. You stick me in front of a camera and I'm weird and awkward and wooden. If you check some of the other videos on this YouTube channel, like go back and look at some of the old stuff. Oh my God, they are shocking.
It's so bad.
But part of the reason why I started this podcast is because, something that I am good at doing is I love talking to smart, interesting founders, talking about how they actually grew their business, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And when it's a conversation like this, that works for me. This for me is founder channel fit. You writing blog posts, cranking out content, educating the world about vaginal gymnastics, pompire, whatever you want to call it.
That's the one thing I can do, man. But I think it came from the awareness of I am fully aware of what I'm bad at. I am so beyond aware of what I'm bad at. So I know I'm not going to be a person that can have, I told you this, I was almost canceling on you today because it was my 3rd call of the day. And that's not a big day of calls. You probably, what was your longest day of calls? You've had 8 calls in a single day. I've seen you have that and still nail them. I cannot do calls. It's bad for me. I stress, and then afterwards I'm like, I can't really focus on anything else. It's so, acting as a human is very hard for someone like me. behaving like a human is very complicated. So anything that has to do with one-on-one, I know I'm not going to be
Mm,
fantastic. I know I don't thrive at. Podcasts are a little bit different because you're not just talking to, obviously we're talking one-on-one, but it's kind of the way that we're talking is also to for other people to consume, and they're going to get, hopefully they can get some value out of it. So podcast is not the worst, but like I cannot have
mm,
meetings. I'm bad at managing people. I know everything that I'm bad at. And so everything that had to do with like getting on calls with potential partners and negotiating and potential affiliates and a potential influencer, I'm like, there's no way I can do this for a living.
mm,
There's no way. But what can I do? Just take a camera, I'll make a video, I'll edit the video, I'll write a blog post, I'll create a bunch of TikToks. I can do a bunch of that stuff, and I can do it in quantity. And that's the stuff that really, that's another thing that we've spoken about a lot. Like it's not just founder channel fit, but it's almost like founder strategy fit. I'm never going to be a perfectionist. That's not how I'm wired. I'm more like, let's build a rocket ship as we're falling down from the sky kind of person. So I'd rather in one day, you know, churn, write 3 different blog posts on different topics that have, in one week, one really, really good blog post. So I'll get stuff done. And that was kind of like how we complemented each other at work when I was working for you. That was really great because you are very much a
yeah.
perfectionist. You will take a lot longer than me, to my frustration, to do things. But when I do them, I'm like, in the same amount of time, I did
Mm,
100 things. Now, they're never going to be 100%. Never, never, never. And in fact, we've had a bunch of
mm,
discussions, heated discussions on, Bel, go back, redo this because it's not perfect. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's done. Let's just put it out there. I'll start a new one. It's never going to be 100%. Never, never, never going to be 100%. And a big reason for that is I'd rather have something out there and then have feedback on it once people have it. So I'd rather just get something going, create a new lesson for the course, get it done, get it as best as it can be done in 1 month or something like that. I'll put it out there, then I'll get feedback, and then I can iterate. So I'm super open to iterations, but I don't want to spend so long in something that then, for it to be exactly like it was in my mind, to then put it out there and then realize people don't
mm.
actually want it. So that is my biggest fear. I'd rather just get people something and for them to tell me what they want, if they love it, if they hate it, whatever, but then I can iterate. So that's kind of the way that I operate. And I don't think I could do it any other way, to be fair. So it's not that I've optimized for that. It's more that, okay, I'm just terrible at all of these things. I cannot do all of these things. I'll have someone else do all of these things.
I think you're right there, because a lot of founders get stuck in this analysis paralysis mode. I'm guilty of that. It's like being a perfectionist is good in a lot of ways, but the danger is you end up never doing anything because you're too in your own head about it. You go way to the opposite extreme, and you've got people who just end up spinning their wheels all day long. They're doing all this busy work, but the quality is so crap that it's not actually useful or helpful to anyone. There's this magic zone in the middle where you're putting out work that is good, not amazing, but good enough. And it doesn't need to be the world's, not everything needs to be a masterpiece to have value. It just needs, did it help someone? Did it inform someone? Did it educate someone? Did it persuade someone? Did it do something useful? Did it take someone one step further than they were yesterday? And it doesn't need to be 10 steps further or 100 steps further.
You know what I realize is that everything that I put out there is well, I think is very valuable, but the difference that it will make if it had the right font or the right format or the right call to action or the right landing page with the perfect wording. Like I have found that those changes are so negligible that I'm like, I could have done 3 other landing pages by now, by the time that I had this one perfect. So as long as you lead with value, and you're always going to lead with value because it's your craft, you know what you're talking about. I wouldn't worry that much about every other detail of the context being perfect, the right font and the right thing and the right this and the right thing. And I could have used this different metaphor to explain this, but I used this one. It doesn't matter, man. Like truly, you're not going to run out of metaphors. That's the other thing. People are like, "Oh, should I use this here or should I just save this for another content?" Just do whatever's out, whatever you have on your mind. You're not going to run out of ideas. That's another. You're not going to run out of ideas. This doesn't have to be your masterpiece because you'll have a bunch of others.
And you can rehash the same ideas over and over again, or update the ideas, or it's not like you can only ever mention it once in the world and that's it.
And it's better to iterate once you put it out there, because you'll have the feedback of the people, and they're like, your users, your customers are going to tell you this was great. What if you applied it to this? But what if this? And what if this? And they'll ask questions, and then you have 10 other blog posts, because they ask the right questions, and they continue with the subject, and they give you more ideas.
Have you ever had any negative feedback though? And how did you deal with that if you have?
I've had from customers, not really. From customers, we've had more, because of the subject matter, we've had people not understand some exercises, and then I would do iterations on the lessons to give more metaphors and more, because of all the muscles that we work on are inside of you. So there's not really that much feedback that you can get as if you were training your bicep. But mostly that kind of stuff that would just inform us on how to make a better course and a very better program, a better blog post, etc. I've had people from the outside, from the industry, saying I should not do things the way that I'm doing them. So I was I was approached by this woman from the industry, huge woman who was really big on the sex space back when DVDs were a thing, and actually she was still continuing to sell DVDs to some couples in the.
People still like DVDs?
Apparently, in the middle of America, people will do anything. I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, in Utah, some people look at DVDs. I don't know. But she continues. She had so many different brands, because she had like this energy bars that gave you like erection. Like, there's so many crazy things. And this woman was very very prominent in the sex space. Very too spiritual for me. Something that it's big on my industry is that there's a lot of spirituality attached to it. I am very, I don't respond to that at all. I only respond to these are the facts. This is how you do things. The woo-woo stuff it just doesn't resonate with me. I'm spiritually a troglodyte, so it's never going to resonate. So, but this woman was, by all intents and purposes, huge audience, and the right audience, women who were really interested in this stuff. So potentially would have been phenomenal partners. The first thing she said to me was that my course was too highly priced. My course is around $300-$400. It's $400. Most people don't get it at $400 because we have so many discount codes. But essentially, she was like, your course should be like $25. And I'm like, there's no way, because it's hours upon hours upon hours of content. There's nothing like this out there. We have designed the entire. There's no way. It's not how we're positioning ourselves either. So it was very much. It wasn't what was going to work. And I remember I spoke to you about this, because I was like, should I just do what this woman says? Because I mean, she's so big in this area and she has all these different products and all of this, but I have this really weird feeling. I don't know if this is the right fit, the right partnership, just the way that she phrases things. Everything is so, like, her websites are all really like the beginning of the internet, those big red text in like a white background and music in the background of the website. Like, it was very, very, very bizarre. And I had a really weird feeling about that. But that was a huge moment for us, because at that point, I think affiliates were not working that well. Reddit hadn't taken over as big. And so this woman was kind of giving me kind of like a lifeline, because she was like, let's partner up. I'll teach you everything. And obviously you give me half of everything you own. And even like she made it seem like, once she was done with this, her entire company was going to be mine. Like, it was a huge thing. So in hindsight, maybe I was an idiot to turn her down. But
she wanted to basically take over your business without paying you for it.
Well, we're going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
That was kind of the plan. That was kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But I just felt so unaligned with her. But she kept, a big thing that she said was like, no one's going to buy your thing at the price that you're putting it at. And I said, well, this is my line. I'm not gonna. because she also wanted the same course to just be a bunch of tiny things. You're doing, oh, that was the other thing. You're giving them away too much. You're giving away too much. You're putting too much value out there for free. Like no more free stuff. They need to at least give you their email to do this, and they need to at least pay this, and at least pay this, and at least pay this. And she wanted to add a bunch of steps, of paying steps. And I understand that concept. I do. But like I'm a Gary V kind of girl. Like what is it? Yeah, right hook, left. I don't remember exactly, but like he goes content, value, and then you ask.
As a boxer, Bel, you make
as a boxer, I'm a
terrible.
What I fuck me. It's a
jab, right hook.
Jab, right. You knew what I was talking about. Anyway,
it's funnier this way.
It's exactly that. So I was like, okay, I cannot. This is not the way that I do things. I'm not going to price every single step. I'd rather just give them a bunch of stuff, and once they believe me, like all of that will if anything will build my authority on this, and then they'll purchase, and they'll see the value or they won't see the value. Lo and behold, what ended up happening is I finished things with this woman. I said, let's not do this, let's not go ahead, and that was great for me because you actually, that was another. See, you say I don't listen to you. I listened to you twice now in these stories, and it was great. We continued doing fantastically well. It didn't really matter, and if anything, what I've noticed in terms of pricing, because that conversation with her kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I was always wondering, did I price this too high? Is this, I feel like this is correct, but for the value that we're giving, but I don't know. And I ended up noticing that the customers who are happy to pay the price that the customers who are happy to pay for the value that you're giving them, they're always the best customers. The customers who end up complaining the most are usually the ones who have paid the least. It's always been my experience with this stuff. So it was, yeah, she ended up being wrong, and which is pretty great.
And further to that point as well, because I think like, and this like as a young entrepreneur, this is your first business. You meet someone who's way bigger than you, like got runs on the board that you can point to, and she's saying, no, your price is too high. You think, okay, maybe I should listen to her.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you stuck to your guns though, because that was the thing. Like, genuinely really good course, really high production value, very well explained, very clearly. Like actually gets you results. Like most courses, people never finish. I think your course actually has like a really good completion rate. Yeah. And you've got raving fans talking about it. Like, I'm glad you stuck with your guns, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this period of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. Especially when you're going through this like valley of death. You have your big launch, and I'm trying this and it's not working, and I'm trying this and it's not working, I'm trying this and it's not working. And that was the moment where, and it would have been really tough to walk away from someone promising you, hey, partner with me and I'll make all your dreams come true.
I am very surprised. I am so naive. As a person, I am extremely naive. So I'm really happy that didn't. I think probably if you wouldn't have said anything, I probably would have gone with the lady. So thank you.
Remember getting on that call, and I think she fucking hated me by the end of that
That's
call.
true. Yeah, I did ask you to get on a call because okay, so
Sanity check it.
If anything, if I'm gonna say something that's gonna make me look like a wuss, it's this. I asked Ryan to be on the second call because I'm pretty sure I said to you, I don't know how to say no to this woman. I feel like if she keeps talking to me, I'll say yes to everything she asked me for. And you had one call with her, and you finished the call, and you were like, this woman is a snake's oil. What is snake oil sales? Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, I am definitely as naive as I thought. So the other thing that it was, and I'll just finish with this, was I lowering my price wasn't really the big con. I didn't have that much trouble with that. But what she said is, don't just lower your price, lower the price and make up of the one course that you have. It should be 20 courses, because women are lazy. They're not going to want to do all of this. You should price each separate exercise on their own. Could you imagine, like, you have a fitness program and you buy it, and you're buying, a lesson about doing a deadlift and a lesson about doing a bicep curl and a lesson. It's so crazy. So I'm like, I'd rather just give them a bunch more content inside that same pricing. I'm happy with that. In fact, that's what we're doing. We're launching an advanced course by the end of the year because our customers have been asking for it. And what I said is like, guys, you're getting it for free. Everyone who's part of our program gets this for free. I don't want to keep adding new products. I want to keep adding new prices. I'd rather just give as much value as possible to the people who have, who vouch for us and who are really very much ambassadors for our brand. Anyway, that was one of the big decisions, I guess, that really changed the course of what we do.
But then, like, that's a calculated move too, because nobody else does that. You have this army of super engaged fans. People who
Yeah,
love
they're
what you're doing,
phenomenal. Yeah.
spreading the word about it. And you've got potentially a big market. There's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So when you're talking about pricing before, you see this all the time in the SaaS world. Like, people will get customer churn, and then they'll be like, oh no, they're left. Hang on, what do we do? Let's chase them down. Let's ask them. Oh, we've got to make all these changes to the product. Oh, we're charging too much for it. Before you know it, you see people bending over backwards to appease the customers that only stuck around for a month and then wanted their money back. And you optimize for the wrong customers.
Yes, it's usually the worst customer, the ones that are giving you a hard time on pricing. They're also going to, coincidentally, they're going to be the same people who ask for more features and different things. And can you build this for me? Can you actually add this thing? Whereas the people who are happy paying what you wanted them to pay in the first place, they're smooth sailing from there. They're like happy with what you have. It's like a relationship, right? It's like you have a really toxic relationship with someone who wants you to give, and gives very little back. Whereas the person who really appreciates is like, yeah, this is great, fantastic, keep going what you're doing, man. I love it. There's a lot more money in the world than we think. There's people who are out there who need what you're selling for the price that your product is correctly priced at.
Yeah, and it takes a bit of courage to stick with that.
Yeah,
I think
especially
what do they say about pricing? Like, if people like, oh, this feels a little bit expensive, but they still pay, that's the right price point.
I hadn't heard that.
That's how you know you set it at the right point. And a lot of people, and not just in the SaaS world, but a lot of entrepreneurs generally we tend to start off underpricing our product. But some of us get stuck in this cycle where we just never put the prices up, even though we're adding all these features. The product, we're getting all these happy customers, all these reviews, all these people saying good things about us, but we never actually move it towards what it should be priced. We get stuck in this kind of cycle of low price, which means we are not making enough revenue, which means we can't reinvest in marketing, which means we can't reinvest in product development, and you get stuck and you stagnate. So advice to most SaaS founders and most entrepreneurs out there is launch at a price
where you feel a little bit.
Well, no, like you are probably underpricing it when you launch, and that's fair enough.
Sure.
Because you've got to get some customers. People have to take a risk on you. There's no social proof. There's no testimonials. There's no reviews. There's no anything. But you want to be increasing your pricing over time as well. Don't get stuck at like, hey, we're charging the same price as we did 4 years ago, because your product's probably worth a lot more.
I'd say the perfect price is what you just said. So I don't know if about this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then afterwards is like, I cannot believe I got so much value out of this. Like I think the best review you can possibly have is, I was a little bit hesitant to pay for this because of the pricing, but then I was like, this is way more. This should be priced even higher. That is probably the perfect review. The perfect pricing review is like, I was hesitant. Yeah. I did it anyway, and I'm like, this is the best value I could have gotten for my money.
Yeah, and conversely, the worst one you can get is didn't pay much for it and didn't get and I got my money's worth.
Yeah, dude, like
the worst.
Terrible.
Couple of other points. Just one thing. Just in defense of that potential partner that you turned down. She was selling DVDs. Her website looked like it was from 1995. She was telling you it's too expensive. Women are lazy. They're not going to bother doing all this stuff. You got to break it down into smaller courses. That's probably fine for her audience, but she was selling to a different audience to the one that you were. And I think that there's a lesson in positioning there that's really important, because I think if you lowered your prices, you'd lower the perceived value as well. And then people probably wouldn't have put in the effort to actually learn the course as well. And then you just start this vicious cycle downwards.
Yeah, I don't ever want to talk down to my customers either. I found, again, probably right. Maybe, I'm sure she's, she obviously tested this a bunch of times, but her messaging felt too patronizing a little bit. Get this result in 2 days and blah blah blah, and so I can't. I can't. I'd rather just tell you that it's gonna take a little bit, but if you put the effort, you can get a bunch of stuff in return, which is the truth. But I just can't. And again, it has to do with optimize. Again, I think it's now we're talking about audience founder fit. I don't think I could. My customers are absolute nerds. They love training, and they tell it to other people, and they love that they have this thing that they can do, and they're like, some of the Reddit comments that we get when I posted the that we were launching the book at the beginning of the year. So many of the comments were like, just take my money, Bel. Like, whatever you put out there, I'm gonna learn, because I've already finished with this exercise and I want to learn more. And so it's I've optimized for a community of sex nerds, and it's the best. So maybe there is something to that, optimizing for the people that you want to serve, and again, that you could serve for a long time, because if it's not going to be sustainable, if you hate the people, the character, or the avatar that you're building the product for, that's not gonna be a good relationship.
That's 100% going to be the thumbnail for this video. I'm optimizing for a community of sex nerds.
Yes.
Yeah. On a SaaS channel.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Bel, let's go back a little bit. There was one other thing you mentioned before that I wanted to dive into, because you said, like, by your own admission, you hate meetings. You don't really want to, you prefer to sit and work on product all day long. I think there's a lot of people who start SaaS businesses that are wired exactly the same way. And when it comes to hiring people, managing people, dealing with conflict, talking to customers, talking to partners, getting on calls all day long, they find it exhausting. They'd rather no, I'd rather just sit and build another feature, because that feels more in my comfort zone than having to go out and do this stuff. Yet you still need to run the business. You are still the CEO. How do you adjust for that, or how do you balance that out?
Hire a COO. I essentially hired someone who does that stuff for me, who happens to be. We spoke a lot about this in the E-Myth Revised, that book. They talk about the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician, right? And essentially, these are the three personalities of a worker, of a professional. And you generally are mainly one, but usually probably two of them, and you're generally not so much the other one. I am very much entrepreneur technician, big time, and I am very little manager. So essentially, the entrepreneur is the one with the crazy ideas, the crazy vision for the future. They can see things happening. They have the creativity. The manager is the one who can manage the resources, adjust timelines, and especially hire and deal with the people who are going to bring the vision forward. And the technician is the working bee who can just churn out blog posts and code and everything. I am very little manager. I'm good at managing time, because I generally am fast anyway, just because of, again, if I'm not a perfectionist, at least I gotta be fast. But I'm very bad at dealing with people. Just it's ridiculously bad.
I know this podcast is going awful.
It is. I know. I'm sorry. But in every meeting, I remember, it's hard for me to. I'm very naive. It's hard for me to tell people when they've done something that maybe it's not the right. I'm very quick to be like, I'll just do it myself. I am bad at the follow through. I'm bad at, I can't micromanage to save my life. I can't teach. I'd rather just do it myself. And I know all of that is not conducive to growth in the slightest. But the way that I found, the best way that I found to sort of outsource the stuff that I'm really bad at is I have this other person. I have Cam, who is fully manager. She's manager, technician, if you will, but manager specifically. She's fantastic with people, and she manages everything that I don't manage. And so when I will tell her, okay, this is the breakdown of what I want to do in this quarter, could you find the people to do this stuff for us? And that's kind of how we operate. Again, it would take just optimizing for something that I'm bad at would be really, at the end of the day, it's not going to be very useful for any of us, because there's people who can do it better and faster than you. So yeah, you can't optimize for everything.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that too, because I think too many founders get caught up in this idea of being this Superman or Superwoman that can do everything, and you can't. I'm wired quite differently to you, so I am much stronger on entrepreneur and
Yeah,
manager,
yeah,
very little technician.
yeah,
I want to get other people as soon as possible so I don't have to do the damn work. Like, and that's yeah. But the point is, like, the work still needs to get done. And so what is easy for you, like, there are certain elements of growing a business that are very easy to you because you can just, I'll just learn how to do it. I don't know how to do
yeah.
it because you taught yourself how to do design work. You taught yourself how to do, well, like, your entire business is in
Animations and
English.
web design. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
But you've built an entire business in a second language as well. Like, you're a native Spanish
Wrote a
speaker.
book.
So,
I'm an author
wrote a book,
apparently now.
a best-selling author.
Best-selling author in a second language. Riddled with errors, probably.
Well, listen. Why don't we talk about the book for a moment?
Sure.
Have you got a copy of it? You can pick
Yeah.
up and
This is a
show
very
us the-
nice copy because all the other ones are filled with stuff that I wrote inside because I butcher books.
Show the cover, just if anyone wants to jump on Amazon.
So
and
it's
check
the
it out on
Gohddess
website.
Method with an H after the O. And
And
I
wrote it. Did you design it?
I designed the cover. Yeah, I designed it all. I designed all the images inside of it as well because this is a very nerdy book. It's not very sexy. It's very odd that I have a sex company because I am a nerd at heart. But I love muscle biomechanics, and the entire business is built around the pelvic floor muscles react the same way as any other muscle in your body. So it's essentially a fitness book, but for the pelvic floor muscles of the woman. But it's a fitness book, so everything is very like anatomic, and I have training schemas, and it's just very nerdy, just complete nerd. Just nerding, you see? Sorry, I'll just show this because I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So the pyramid of the different skills that you can learn and the baseline, and then you go here and you go here in different planes of motion. Just nerdy stuff.
That is bestseller in Canada for a while.
So it was the number one in Canada for a while. I was like, those horny,
For the category.
cold Canadians.
Not much to do in a Canadian winter.
Not much to do, just hockey and sex. And I was like, this is great. Number one in Canada. We've been going between the first 5 in the US, and I'm like, I've never been number one in the US. We're number 2, number 3, number 6, number 2, and we're just shy of number 1. But it's been great. The book was a phenomenal. That was another decision that really changed the course of the business because, and it was another decision that I was really struggling with because I was afraid that the book would cannibalize my sales of the course because. Obviously, I only had the course, and then I had free stuff. I had the course priced at $400 or $300, and then I had a bunch of free stuff, free blogs, free resources, etc., PDFs, and that was it. I didn't have any other products. And so the book was this idea of being able to reach more people with something way more affordable that basically taught you everything, but it wasn't as hand-holding as a course would be. So the book, if you wanted to, if you were an absolute crazy person like I am, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners would be, you could learn everything about what we teach with the book because it teaches you the theory. It's almost like it teaches you everything there is to know about building muscle, but it doesn't give you the exact program what to do on Monday, Tuesday. You kind of design it on your own because I teach you the biomechanics of everything. And so, and then obviously you open the book and you have a discount on the course, and it's become another really successful channel for us for the course, which was the entire. Well, what was the idea? The idea was to introduce it to more people, make it more affordable, and not cannibalize the course. And it hasn't at all. It's been really great. But I think people needed something more really in depth to be like, okay, I'm ready to purchase this more expensive thing. That's a proper decision for most people. $300-$400.
I think that's a bit of an underrated channel because a lot of people think of a book as a product, whereas you thought of it as a product, but also as a marketing channel.
It's a it's interesting. Yeah, it's both because it's definitely a product because I wanted something that was about reach much more than about profit. I don't care if the book makes zero money. In fact, the book does make money, but the bulk of the money comes from the course. So the book doesn't make us that much money. Amazon gets most of it. So it doesn't matter. That's not really what I wanted was to reach as many people as possible for them to know about us. And it's actually really, I wrote it in like 3 months. Could you imagine how much it would take you to write a book?
but it would be like 3% better, and that
That's
three
true.
percent
It
would be.
would be 3% better. 100%. It
Well,
would be
it's
3%
interesting that
better.
you bring that up because I had Shana Huber on the show from My Junior a while back,
Yes.
and one of the things that she did is write a book.
Oh, yes.
And what's really interesting about that as a marketing channel / product kind of combined, the audience on Amazon is enormous.
Huge.
And you're in a space where marketing, some channels are just really, really, really difficult. You can't run ads on Amazon direct to your course.
No, I can't even run ads
Not
for the
in-
book. Nope.
But what you can do is create a book, stick it up on Amazon. Amazon drives traffic to it. You get sales from that. You generate revenue from that. And a trickle of that traffic then goes through, finds out about the rest of you, goes to your website, and buys your course. I think for a lot of SaaS founders, they don't look at the idea of a book or even like an informational product as like a layering between their free content and their recurring revenue software product. And thankfully, that's changing a little bit too. Like there was a time when, especially in a lot of the sort of Silicon Valley centric thought bubble
Yes.
stuff, is like you build your product and you focus on your product and you keep on growing your product and you ignore distractions. And that's fine if you've raised millions and millions of dollars in VC money. But if you're from everywhere outside of Silicon Valley, you can't say we raised a $9 million pre-seed round. It just doesn't happen.
Not that money flying around Buenos Aires as you would think.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe there is for all we know. But the interesting thing about the idea, so your funnel, like we'll unpack this in a moment. But I've talked to, I think the very first episode I did, if you look it up, was with Andy Allen from Hike, and he was mentioning like had the SaaS business. They started an agency to like a service business to help onboard customers and help them use the software and become more successful. But then they got so caught up in delivering the service, growth slowed down on the software side of things. And they said, whoa, hang on. So the journey that they went on was to find, I'll stick a card up there somewhere, but the journey that they went on was to find the perfect shade of gray. Like it's not black and it's not white. It's not a service business or a SaaS business. It is software with a service. And he wanted to figure out like how much service do we offer and where do we stop offering that service. But for him, it was like retention was a big thing, because if we can just get people using it and get people to have some success with it, we don't need to keep on delivering the service for them forever. We just need to get them over that hump, and then our retention rates shoot way up. So that was like the perfect shade of gray for him. For you, the perfect shade of gray was we've got the course, we've got a bunch of free content, but we need something to bridge that gap. We need something cheap, something that's pretty low priced, but still affordable. But it's not zero. Like they're still paying some amount of money to get some content. And
a big question that I had is, well, what's the point? What would be the point for if the book is really valuable, and I want it to be very valuable because there's no point in doing it otherwise? What would be their point on buying the course? Why would they buy the course if the book has everything? And that was a huge decision again. Why would I make it super valuable? Should I just maybe give them like 3 exercises? And eventually I was like, you know what? No, screw that. I'll just do it. I'll do it so that anyone could learn absolutely everything just from the book. And I think I am very easily influenced by the stuff that I consume. And so I remember I was looking at a series of videos on like how much should I give away for free, because the book essentially it's very cheap. It's like $20 or $10.
Yeah.
So I was like, how much can I give away? And this girl was fantastic. She was a marketer, and she was talking about people will always pay for structure, for access to you, and for a community. And so I was like, oh, wow. And I started thinking about my own sort of purchasing habits and the stuff that I buy and the brands that I'm very much a loyal customer to. And I was like, oh, wow. So for this fitness program, I bought their book, but I'm also part of their program and I'm also part of their coaching. Why? Because I have the book. So why would I? And then I started thinking about this stuff and I'm like, yeah, but the book is great if I'm on vacation. I just want to just browse through the book. But the course is very well set up if I ever want a visual, and the community is great because I have access to him and I can ask him always. So then it kind of started clicking and I'm like, you know what? Yes, it can be one product on their own, but I can also see people buying everything as well. And those people, those are my super mega loyal customers. And we had a bunch of those. And they're like, I love the book and I love the course and I love them for different reasons. And I love having both of them. And if she keeps putting out different stuff, I will buy it. So I'm like, that's brilliant.
Do you have affiliate arrangements where you sell complementary products and services to your customers as well?
I do, especially now where we're closing a partnership with a really, really, really great tool that's essentially a probe that they can use to measure their contractions and the strength of their muscles, which is fantastic because it gives them a digital feedback specifically on their strength level, their control, their power, etc., their speed, everything. And we're closing down on that partnership now, and it's great. I just haven't pursued that as much just because it's not my forte to do negotiations and do.
Yeah.
I just rather not. I guess luck, just out of sheer luck or out of like the way that we've optimized and because of my personality, all our channels rely on ourselves doing stuff, which is where I prefer them to be. So I don't run ads because I can't run ads for most of the not the way that I would like to. Partnerships, I'm not wired that way. I hate the long term back and forth. I have to depend on
Found a
their
channel fit.
I have to and so everything has to do with content. The results are almost exclusively tied to how much I put in. And when things are like that, I'm at peace. When it all depends on me, I am not stressed. I am the least stressed. I just don't like it when it depends on someone else. So yeah, it's personality fit.
The reason I bring that up,
Yeah.
and just because I want to do a deep dive into some of your Reddit and
Yeah, let's do it.
content tactics in just a second, but I think this is a really important takeaway for anyone building any sort of business, but particularly a SaaS business, is you can have other revenue streams besides just your software. Okay, so you could have a book, and that book fits into your funnel. It takes people from Amazon or wherever they find the book and educates them about your product and how to do that. You can have a course that you can sell. You can sell other people's courses if they're complementary. You can even sign up and be an affiliate for other complementary software products, because this sits in a workflow, like you were saying with this other device. It's like you've got the device and you've got the course.
Perfect.
It's a really good fit.
Yes.
So for anyone watching this or listening to this, maybe like draw up a map of what other products do people use before and after my product. Go and approach them about a partnership, because I think that you could, benefit from each other's audience. You could probably generate more revenue. We had a guy in the Startup Source community a while back who had an SEO tool, and the light bulb moment for him when it all kind of clicked, because he was spending money on Facebook ads. He was good at it, but it was like breaking even. It was slightly profitable, but the thing that really accelerated it was he did a partnership with a link building agency. So his product found link building opportunities, and that was good on its own. But then what he did was he stuck a button next to it saying, do you want us to get you this link? And that link would take you through to this partner that was a link building agency, and they would go and sort out the link building for you. The moment he did that, his lifetime value of the customer shot up, which meant that he could dump more money into ads. And that's when the flywheel really started taking off. So the key takeaway from this is, if you do run a SaaS business, there are other revenue streams that you can mix in as well. It doesn't just have to be purely your product.
And again, the customers who will buy all of those, perfect customer. Like it's going to be the guy who uses your product the most, because that dude is like nerding out on everything that has to do with SEO in this case, or vaginal gymnastics in my case. But it's absolutely the best. Yeah, love it.
Speaking of nerding out, let's do a tactical deep dive. So we normally do one per episode. I think we might do two if we have time today.
Okay.
Because I want to go through your Reddit stuff. Do you want to share your screen and just kind of talk us through your subreddit, the strategy that you took to grow it, how you use it, how that feeds into the rest of your business? So just as if we draw like an overall map of your business. So right now you get traffic from TikTok, you get traffic from Reddit, and you get traffic from SEO, and you get some traffic from, I guess, Amazon into book sales.
YouTube, yes.
YouTube, yep. Okay, so this is your top of funnel. And then from there, what do people do? You've got the book, you've got the course. Do you have like a lead magnet or something as well?
So for example, Reddit is a great way to illustrate it, because if you go to the subreddit, you have the banner where it gives you, the code for the discount code for the course. But then pinned to the top of the subreddit, you have two main posts. And this is the Pompoir quick guide that I first created at the beginning. And this was initially, like I say here, this was initially post in this subreddit, which is where I first started, and this is where it really went viral in the sex over 30 subreddit. So I just basically copied it.
So this was
Yeah.
that initial viral post. That's literally pinned to the top of your.
I mean,
subreddit.
I redid it.
Okay.
So I basically posted it again. So it doesn't have as many. I think in the original subreddit it had like a bit of 1,000 views. And anyway, it's just a long post explaining the basics of this practice. And I believe at the beginning I say, full disclosure, I'm the CEO of Gohddess, like I told you guys. And I give them, no, you can now save $100 off with the course, blah, blah, blah. Now, this also has access to a free guide that they can get back in my business. So if they go there's a link here, I think it's pinned at the beginning of the subreddit of the post, that they can go and get a free PDF in gohddess.com. If you go to my homepage, the first thing that you'll see is you can get the course, or if you're about to leave, you'll get Master the Basics, and this is the PDF, the free PDF that you download. And then this leaves you to basically an email sequence spanning over a few months where you get a bunch of free content on the different exercises, and of course some discount codes if you want to get the course eventually. And we get a lot of people convert from our email list. So we have a really big email list now where we can do, I should be doing more with it if I'm honest. But I only have so much time. So essentially that's another channel for us, is our own email list. And then the other pinned post is the Gohddess book. So as soon as you get to this Reddit, you have the course, you have a free guide, and you have a book. So you have all my offers on the top on the top of the page. And then you have basically the community and everything that comes with it.
And how active are you in the community? Like, do you post things? Do you just respond to comments?
I don't post anything. I don't do anything. Like people, so these are all, I just like this because I really enjoy this post. And so like people just answer themselves. And it's pretty active. We have something going on every week. And these are just the main ones that we have this month.
How do you grow this?
At this point, it kind of grows on its own. We grow about 1,000 people per month on just people sharing it. But really, the other way that you grow this is by answering questions from other communities. So I will have Cam does this right now. So she will answer on other communities, related communities. She will, where there's a post where it makes sense to mention Pompoir, she will mention the post, or she will mention the subreddit, or she will mention the practice of it. And people then will ask, well, what is this? Oh, well, there's actually a subreddit on this, blah, blah, blah. Again, in Reddit, you have to be very, very, it's all so user generated. It has to come from a very unspammy place, and that's kind of the entire strategy.
Do you have how would you structure a post to be Reddit friendly in a way? That, like, how do you squeeze in a bit of self promotion without, like, what does that look like?
Well, rather than posting, we mostly comment, and that does two things. First of all, it sounds a lot more genuine coming from a comment rather than I'm posting about something that happens to mention my thing. So if it's a comment, it makes much more sense because it's going to be adapted to whoever asked the question. And second, it improves your score as a user on Reddit. So then your comments will, so you'll be able to comment more. You'll be able to, like, people will see your ranking. So there's a lot that comes with being well regarded on Reddit. In fact, there's some communities where you just cannot post because you don't have a high enough ranking as a Reddit user. So the way that we do it is we will essentially talk about the generic term. So in my case, it might be someone might be asking about a specific, sex concern. And if it makes sense, I'll mention a bunch of things. And, if I mention a list of 5 things, number 3 will be, have you considered Pompoir? Blah, 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 blah. And so essentially the best way to go about Reddit is your product being part of a overall solution. So if someone is asking something, try to make it a list of answers. So first I would try this, second I would try this, third, blah, 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 fourth, there's actually a tool that helps you with this stuff. Fifth, this, sixth, this. So I will just sandwich it in just because you've already given them value on the first 3 steps. And then you can add your your semi-promotional thing. I wouldn't even link to it if I'm honest, because links look really spammy. So I would just mention the name, and then people will, if your comment is sufficiently highly ranked, which it should be if it's valuable, the comment that you're posting, people will just look it up or will just ask about it. And that's usually really good.
Because I think, yeah, with Reddit, you can tell if someone's just
Super.
It's so obvious, and
It's very cracked
it's
down on.
lazy. Yeah.
No, but it's not going to work. It's simple as that. It's not going to work because people are going to downvote you. It's so well managed in that sense that you'll just be downvoted to oblivion and nobody will see your comments.
Well, so I took over the SaaS marketing Reddit
Yeah.
a while back as well. Similar kind of strategy to yours. And so we have to moderate that pretty heavily because, okay, it is a SaaS marketing. It's full of people marketing SaaS products.
Sure.
There's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. The right way to do that is, hey guys, so I had this problem. I thought maybe I could go and build a solution. Here's a bit of a story about my journey. I had this problem and here's what I learned along the way. This didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. But when I tried this is what really nailed it. So my advice for you is do this, do this, do this, do this. That's a really valuable post. I, as a moderator, I don't care if you promote your own product in that, because there is a lesson in that for everyone else in the group. It adds to the conversation. It adds to the discussion. That is a valuable post. But then it's like, hey, we just launched this thing. Here's a link.
No, it's terrible. Yours should be at a tool in the story that you're telling. Pompoir is a potential solution to your problem with your dead bedroom with your spouse. So a bunch of topics that are valuable, and have you tried also this?
But what's really valuable about that strategy that I love is like, okay, so you're not just creating your own community, but you are owning the topic space.
For sure.
Okay? So this, when people associate this topic space, they associate it with your company, and you get to moderate it, you get to own and control it, you get to kind of guide and steer the conversation. You probably don't want to be too heavy-handed about that and just like completely crush down any mention of competitors or anything like that. But
well, we really haven't. We really haven't. And the truth is, we can talk about competitors, which I think is a really interesting topic as well. But I've found out what people think about our competitors just a lot through my subreddit. And the other thing that has happened, which is interesting, is a lot of people who join the subreddit, maybe they don't join it on desktop, they just join it on their phone. So they don't really see the banner. So they don't know that it's owned by me. So they'll talk freely about my product. It's always been really positive, which is great. The day that it's not positive, it's going to crush me. But people don't really know that we're the ones running it. So they talk really freely about, oh, I tried this other course and it wasn't as great. Oh, you should try the Gohddess one I really like because of this and this and this. So it's really interesting. It's like I feel like a ninja, like I'm hiding in the in society and what they're saying. It's really interesting stuff.
But just to unpack this overall strategy, so you have a bunch of traffic from around the internet, you funnel it towards either your website or to Reddit. If they go to Reddit, which is you own the topic space, you own that community, it's now 19,000 or 20,000 people. When people end up in this community, it now has sufficient critical mass that when people ask questions, other people answer. It's not a huge management burden on you. You can chime in when you want to, but it's not a huge work burden for you. Yeah. But when people come to the subreddit, they can get a discount code and buy the product immediately, or they can buy the book, or they can sign up for a free lead magnet, end up on your lead magnet, and then presumably you promote like the course or the book off the back of that. Yeah. And then they're in your universe now. And the cool thing about that is that with every post on Reddit, that will surface in other people's feeds, in other communities, other people will find out about it. And like you said, so organically, 1,000 people a month join your subreddit.
Exactly.
Talk to me about competitors. How do you think about competitors?
I don't. So here's another thing about me, which is probably a little bit controversial. I don't really look at competitors at all. I haven't. So what we do, like doesn't have competitors. So the exact thing that we do is a program on its own that's very much based on dexterity and doing all these crazy exercises. The book. No one does this. There are books. There's one book on this, which is the one that I read when I first decided to create this program, because I was like, this is terrible. And so I was like, this is not teaching me anything. And it was more about like the practice and blah, 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 and spiritual, and it didn't really actually tell me anything. So it's not really that there's a prog that directly replaces ours. There isn't. But there are female coaches that do talk about Kegels, and they talk, so all that stuff we could consider our competitors. I don't really see them. I don't, and it's not something that actively chose to do. It's more that again, I'm not wired to do that. I know that it's probably pretty controversial. You should look at your competitors and see where they're at and see where you're stacked and what you can improve and blah blah blah. I feel like I would get too influenced by what they're doing. I feel like if I were to look at, Kimanami, who is this lady who does all this vaginal lifting and power lift. She calls it vaginal lifting, or vaginal powerlifting. I don't know. Um, I know what our people think about her. Some of the people who are in my course have taken hers. I know what they dislike, what they like about her. But I didn't really even take the course because in my mind, if I start looking at that stuff, I'm going to be like, oh, we should do this and we should add this and we should, and she's doing, giveaways every month and maybe I should do giveaways every month. And I would get so influenced by that stuff that I don't want to be a better version of my competitors. I want to I want to compete in a completely different sphere that has nothing to do with what you're doing. And I know that's, probably very self-aggrandizing, but in my mind, I think it can only be negative in the way that it can influence you to think. It can only influence you and deter you from the ideas that you had. And I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't. Um, I feel like I could get influenced so easily about, oh, maybe I should just focus all my efforts on Instagram because she's focused all her efforts on Instagram and she's not on Reddit. It's like, well, but Reddit worked for me. So what's the rule? So often we look at our competitors and we believe that what they're doing is probably better than us because the grass is always greener. And so we have this idea that they somehow got it figured out, but there is no one way to do business. A lot of people probably Kimanami is phenomenal on Instagram, and Instagram is not something that we've really focused on, but I've done great with Reddit and I've done great with YouTube. So there's not really one true way to do the things. But you can, if you look at your competitors too much, you can very easily fall into the trap of believing that. And I don't like that. So I just don't. I really don't. I don't like to be influenced by that.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that because I've seen a lot of founders fall down the trap of stressing about competitors, copying competitors. Oh, our competitor rolled out this feature. Well, we need to build this feature too. And then it's like, none of your customers asked
Nobody
for that.
wanted that.
Nobody wants that.
No.
You're just building it because someone else had it.
No.
Like Zoom has this thing. Okay, so like, I don't know who did it first, but it used to annoy me when I would do podcasts like this. Yeah, you do the thumbs up. I disabled it. I figured out how to do it. But you do like thumbs up and all these balloons would pop up. I'm like, I'm on a podcast. Why would that be useful? Why would that be a thing that I want? Yet it's been disabled. It's been enabled by default, and which is bizarre. But I think it's just, Zoom does this, we need to do this too. Or Apple does this, we need to do this too. So anyway, I had Nick McHenry from One Shop. He was on a little while back, and he was talking about like the difference between a first-time founder and a second-time founder and what he thinks about. He said, like, as a first-time founder, like everyone thinks about competitors. Everyone's worried about the competitors.
Okay.
They're breathing down my neck. How are we going to, stand out from our competitors? Second-time founder, don't give a shit. I care about distribution. I care about how am I going to get in front of as many of my customers as possible. Who is going to help me get there faster? What can I do to get there faster? So focused on the customer, what the customer wants. Block out the rest of the world, My favorite quote about startups in the entire world is that startups don't compete with other businesses. They compete against people not giving a shit. And
I love that.
So you do your own thing, run your own race with your own customers, build your own product, and don't get too influenced by
I somehow did that by default. Just I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't think if you paid me to look at my competitors, I think it's almost like I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism. I just can't do it. I can't. I don't want to be influenced. I don't know. It's very odd. I don't know. I guess I'm just wired that way.
Bel, two last questions. Do you have any books, tools, resources that you would recommend to ideally SaaS founders, but I suppose any entrepreneur or any first-time founder at all?
I really so I'm not big into books, especially not, sorry, that makes me sound real dumb, but
I don't read.
I'm actually reading a great book right now, but I'm reading Project Hail Mary, but it's not really a SaaS book. I made it a conscious effort to stop reading nonfiction because I read before I go to bed. So I was going to bed thinking fast and slow, and I was like, oh my God, I need to start acting. So I just can't. I forced myself to stop reading nonfiction. But my favorite nonfiction book is called The Power of Habit. And that book essentially taught me something that I believed that I had, and I didn't really I didn't know the science behind it. And this guy basically talks about how habits are made. It's not specifically a business book, but I think the stuff that it relays is it's what Alex Ramosi talks about all the time, but in a neuroscience way. And I honestly just listen to a lot of that stuff. I listen to a lot of Alex. I listen to a lot of modern wisdom, even though it's not necessarily business. But the way that I consume content is YouTube is the platform that I use more than anything for my own personal consumption. And the way that I do it is because I am so easily influenced, especially my mood is very easily influenced. Whenever I don't feel like working, I just put some Alex Ramosi and I'm like, let's freaking lock in. Let's do this. I'm just going to do 3 hours of work. So the way that I allow myself to get distracted, because I'm sure everyone has already figured out that I'm very ADHD, hyperactive by this point. Every smart person listening to this podcast already knows this. But the way that I have functional ADHD in this sense is I allow myself to get distracted with stuff that has to do with what I'm doing. So if I'm writing a blog post, in every 5 minutes, I need to take a mental 5-minute break. I wrote one. I allow myself to get to the end of the page, and I'm like, I finished this page, and then I can watch a video. It has to be a video about writing blog posts, and it can be whatever. It can be a video about creating the greatest title, or it can be a video about a new strategy. It doesn't matter, but it has to be about whatever I'm doing that at the moment, because that will always motivate me to be like, oh, I hadn't thought about that, and then that influences me to go back to the blog post and apply whatever I just learned. That's kind of how I tricked my ADHD. It's like, okay, you want to get distracted? Okay, get distracted with something that has to do with what you're doing now, so you're pumped to go back to what you're doing now. My life is just hacking away all my flaws.
Oh, jeez.
I don't cook, so I fast all day. So
yeah, not eating. No, I'm fasting.
I'm fasting. I'm just doing OMAD. And I get ticket at night.
Bel, it's been a pleasure. If anyone watching or listening to this is interested in getting in contact with you or learning more about your business, where should they go?
Well, Gohddess.com, but I imagine most of your people don't have the right genitals for it. But you can email me. You can email me at bel@gohddess.com. You can find me in all the social medias at Bel Di Lorenzo. Or you can just message Ryan and tell him, yo, want to talk to Bel. Actually, your stuff is cool, but just I want to know more about the Reddit strategy or whatever, or the optimizing for your own flaws kind of thing.
Well, listen, I'll put some links in the description.
Sure.
I'll also put a link to your book in the description as well, if anyone wants to check that out. I know when you mentioned that to a few of the guys in the Startup Source community who maybe don't have the correct equipment, but they are married to someone who does. So it might be an interesting, fun thing to do with a partner as well. So anyway, Bel, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, man.